Hi guys, good afternoon and welcome to this live stream on Moneycontrol. I'm Karunya Rao and with me is Ashwin Mohan, who tracks deals and M&A activity very closely, and today we'll be putting the spotlight on one of the hottest sectors when it comes to M&A and fundraising activity. Talk to us about, Ashwin, what's happening in this space, but before that I want you to tell us about the story you broke about Continuum Energy. What is that all about? What are the big details?
Right, Karunya, thanks for that, and it's really great to kickstart a new offering, Deal Central, with a dissection of this very exciting segment, the renewable energy segment or the clean energy segment. And you rightly pointed out, it's been buzzing with a lot of M&A activity, in fact over the past year and a half. Now, you asked me specifically about Continuum Green Energy. That's the story that we broke exclusively on Moneycontrol earlier. It is one of the biggest renewable energy platforms in India in terms of scale as well as size. Now, what we are given to understand from our sources is that the sale process for Continuum Green Energy has been launched. And this deal has been in the works for a while, Karunya, because in the past there was a construct that I'm given to understand wherein only the investor, Morgan Stanley Infrastructure Partners, wanted to exit. And Morgan Stanley Infrastructure Partners has a stake of around 83%. Founders were not really that keen to exit. Now we're given to understand from our sources that they have reached an understanding, and therefore it's a new deal wherein 100% stake is now up for grabs. And that's what's going to excite investors
so both
globally.
Parties want to exit.
Yes. So in an essence, what we're given to understand is both the PE player, that's Morgan Stanley Infrastructure Partners, and the founder group, both of them are in fact ready to exit. Though, let me add a rider over here, the founder group continues to remain bullish on the business, and therefore at the option of the existing investor. When I say that, I mean only if the existing incoming investor is okay with it. The founders are in fact also open to the idea of tagging along and reinvesting. So that's the kind of flexible deal scenario we're looking at over here. Citibank and Deutsche, those are the two advisors that have launched this deal recently. We have teasers that have been sent out to a clutch of strategic investors as well as private equity funds. Now coming...
Any names that are coming up?
No, so these are still early days, Karunya, but a very key question that you asked, because in the past there are several global strategic players that have flirted with a stake buy in Continuum. So you have Norway's Statkraft, that's a very aggressive player that's looking at Indian assets. You have Renewable, of course, which got listed overseas. You also in the past had Sun Edison that was looking at Continuum. Sun Edison, of course, later went bankrupt. So this asset has seen a lot of interest earlier in the past as well. What has happened right now is that the entire deal process has been revived. In terms of valuation, this will be one of the biggest green energy deals that has been struck in recent times, because we are talking about a valuation anywhere between $700 million to $1 billion. It could also be more than that, but that of course depends on the valuations. Now, why is this attractive? This asset is attractive because, as I said, there are not too many
players,
clean energy assets of this size and scale that are present in India. And also this asset has 150 plus CNI clients. That's the segment that they are a clear winner in, or a clear strong player in. So that makes it a differentiated platform of sorts. So those are the details that we're picking up at this point of time as far as the Continuum process is concerned.
But let's continue our conversation about M&A in the renewable space. There are a lot of other big ticket deals that you've been tracking that have been in the pipeline, and some have been announced as well. Could you give our viewers a lowdown on that?
Absolutely. So as I said earlier, in the last year and a half, there have been a lot of green energy deals. Some of them are in the works, some of them have been announced. We've been on top of many of them. For example, recently we had reported that Singapore's Sembcorp, that's also a very aggressive player, a Singapore-based utilities player that's looking at Indian assets. So we had reported that Sembcorp had entered into an exclusivity to acquire Vector Green Energy. Now, Vector Green Energy is the Indian clean energy platform of a US private equity fund, that's GIP. And we are given to understand that the deal value is around 5,000 crore rupees. And interestingly, Karunya, we're also given to understand that Sembcorp has edged ahead of other strategic players. Also in the listed space, for example, the likes of Torrent Power. Remember, Torrent as a group is also looking to expand. Recently it announced a deal in the pharma segment, but Power is also a space that is looking at. That's one big deal. The other big deal that also in fact broke earlier on Moneycontrol was JSW Energy, where they agreed to buy out the Maitra Energy platform, and that was a whopping deal, more than 10,000 crore rupees. That's one more example. Then recently, the Economic Times reported that Brookfield, the Canadian pension fund giant, was looking to pump in more than $1 billion, so around $1 billion in Hyderabad's Greenco. So the Canadians are also, circling around several of these energy assets. In fact, recently another Canadian player, that's Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, they opened their India office. They're also looking at the infra space. So it will be interesting to see how the Canadians approach this space going ahead. But the biggest of them all, hold on to your thoughts, the biggest of them all was the one which was struck by Adani. And Adani in fact acquired SB Energy Holdings. The deal closed in October 21, and that deal was struck at $3.5 billion or 26,000 crore rupees, making it the largest acquisition in the history of the Indian renewable sector. Go ahead.
You've listed out like 7-8 odd deals that have been brewing in this space, but why is there so much action in Indian renewables and or clean energy space? What do we have to offer in terms of assets, in terms of potential?
So before I answer your question, let me point out that one player that's going to be a player to watch out for, at least in terms of big bucks, is the Adani Group.
Definitely.
Adani Green Energy. And Gautam Adani, the chairman of the group, has already spelled out plans of pumping in over $20 billion.
Yeah, just yesterday.
Yes. In the next 10 years in renewable energy. In fact, he's spoken about $100 billion that will be invested. A major part of that will be in the energy segment, 70% of that. Now, coming back to your question regarding the environment and what are some of the deal triggers in the clean energy segment. Let's not forget that India has made a lot of global commitments. It has an updated pledge as far as the Paris Climate Agreement is concerned. India has also a very aggressive renewable energy generation capacity goal, about 175 gigawatts by 2022. Looks tough and challenging, but India has sort of had that goal, right? It also has a 2030 goal as well. So obviously there's going to be a lot of renewable energy capacity generation in India. Now, if you look at it from the point of view of some of the stakeholders involved, many of the deals that I just spoke about, Karunya, many of them have private equity investors. In fact, look at Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley Infra invested 10 years back in Continuum. So obviously, after 10 years, as a PE player, you're going to look at generating returns. So one of the reasons is that many of these PE players are looking at generating returns. In some cases, there's also pressure from lenders, right? So that's one aspect. The other aspect that we need to keep in mind is many of these strategic players, many of the global strategic players, they are looking to meet their own individual net zero targets, right? For example, take the example of Spring Energy. Spring Energy was another $1.5 billion sale that happened. That's also an Indian renewable energy platform, and that was sold after a fierce bidding war. Who won it? We had British fossil fuel giant Shell that won it. They edged out ArcelorMittal. So look at the names that are popping up: Shell, ArcelorMittal. You've got Semcorp. So all these global players are making a beeline. And many of them also want to reshape their entire portfolio. Some of them want to convert their portfolio from brown to green. Some of them want to build a green energy hub. They also want to look at investments in the clean energy space. So these are some of the reasons why a lot of deal activity is happening. But essentially, it's all to do with the ESG theme, right? Many of these players want to invest in low carbon assets and also make their investors happy, because globally, there's a lot of stress and focus that one has to reach a particular level of ESG efficiency. So those are some of the factors that are driving a lot of activity in this sector.
Clearly.
Keep an eye out on this sector, because there will be many more deals that will come up in the days to come.
In
and
fact,
of course,
we'll be on the top of them. Keep an eye out on Moneycontrol, because Ashwin is on top of many of those deals. In fact, one could be coming up very soon, and we'll of course get you all the details on the website and in video format. So stay tuned for that. This is all we have for today as far as Deal Central is concerned. A new property, please do check it out. Over the next few weeks, we'll get you lots more information and insights on what's brewing in the corporate space. Thank you so much for tuning in.